Tribal Health and Human Services Department of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes is proud to present Good Medicine, a program dedicated to the wellness of the Flathead Nation. The mission is summarized quite simply: a healthier people, a stronger nation. We will strive to make good medicine a reliable source of ideas and information about health issues so that everyone can make informed decisions about their own lifestyle and health care. You will meet health professionals, tribal government and spiritual leaders, and interesting people from the tribal community discussing important health issues that profoundly affect us all.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Good Medicine. We're coming to you today from the studio of SKC-TV from the campus of Salish Kootenai College in beautiful downtown Pablo, Montana. And I'm Lori Lambert, in for Larry Pitts today. I want to thank our film crew and the studio crew, Elizabeth, Roy, and Frank. And I want to introduce you to some special people who are visiting here from a very warm country. Samarra Toby and Robert Toby. Samarra is from Brisbane, Australia, and her father, Robert Toby, is from Rockhampton. Welcome to cold, snowy Pablo.
Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you.
It's nice to be here.
And Robert, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah. In our country, our traditional people, when we visit other traditional people, we acknowledge and remember the people and our ancestors that have passed. We acknowledge and pay respect to the elders of the traditional people. I understand that's the Salish and Kootenai community here. And we also like to acknowledge and respect the youth because they are the path to the future. Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you. That was really beautiful. Well, now that you're here, we have you rooked into this Good Medicine show, and we're really happy that you decided to come on with us. And I want to have you tell everybody about the background and the roles that your communities play in Australia and your role in those communities.
Okay. I guess a broad paintbrush with that, Australia has just reached 20 million people. Of those 20 million, 2.4% are Indigenous people. Before Captain Cook came to Australia, there was 500 nations with 300 languages. We are of the Gungaloo Nation from the Callide and Dawson Valley. Our numbers are around the 400 to 500 people. Within central Queensland, which is the regional area, there's something like 70,000 people, and there's about 14,000 Indigenous people. Some of our traditional neighbours are people like the Wapabara, Durrumbul, Gurang, Willy, which are our traditional neighbours in the central Queensland area. My main role with our traditional group, I'm a native title applicant. I'm also a senior negotiator when we discuss business or have to make decisions relating to activity in our traditional country with government and private sector proponents or people who want to undertake some sort of development.
And how about for Samarra? Can you tell us what kind of work you do in your community in Brisbane?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say I'm also part of the Gungaloo Nation, and my role with my people there is basically to learn the culture and become a cultural heritage monitor and custodian, and also, I guess, to basically try and support and learn from my elders, including my father, about our people, and I guess also contributing to where we want to go in the future. In Brisbane, I actually work for government, for state government in the health sector, in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Health Unit. I'm not here representing them today, but I work in policy, so we write health policy for Indigenous people in Queensland.
Excellent. So you're a young professional Indigenous woman.
Yes.
Yes. And I also want to tell the folks out there that you're also Northern Cheyenne.
Yeah.
And you're here having a vacation, visiting your family in Lame Deer and in Washington, so that's pretty special. Let's see, what are the social issues that are affecting your people?
There's probably a range, and after visiting here, they're sort of similar in many ways. We have housing issues, alcoholism and substance abuse. We have education, employment. One of the real concerns that we have is in the health area. We have a fairly high mortality rate, both at birth, and Indigenous people tend to die a lot younger than white Australians. Sam might be able to.
Yeah, basically we have major issues with the chronic diseases, so cardiovascular disease, diabetes, mellitus, gestational diabetes. We also have issues with preventable diseases. There's a lot of parasitic diseases, also influenza, pneumonia, respiratory diseases. Across the whole board, I think we have issues with all of those, and that's probably due to, I guess, you have to look at holistically, and there's other factors impacting on health as well, such as housing and environmental health and employment opportunities. But basically, I've sort of just noticed while being here that I think there are a lot of similarities in terms of mortality and morbidity rates between Native American people and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in Australia. So, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the programs that Aboriginal Health and Torres Strait Island Health have for working out those diseases?
Okay, basically within the Queensland State Health System, we have, the way I guess we are trying to approach it at the moment is looking at the major diseases, so respiratory, chronic diseases, environmental health, and then basically we design programs in consultation with communities to look at their needs and how we can assist them better, and also trying to recruit and retain Indigenous staff to actually roll out the programs. Would you like to add anything?
And so you have a lot of Indigenous people working for those programs?
Just
some.
Yeah, there's Indigenous recruitment strategies that government and non-government agencies are trying to implement, I guess. But in terms of, I think we're aiming to have 2% of government employees to be Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander, and that's a goal we're working towards to try and recruit and retain more people.
And they go to school and they have university programs.
Yep, that's right.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about the university programs so that people can compare what you are doing with what tribal colleges are trying to do.
Okay, well basically we have tertiary institutions which are basically for everyone to attend, so they're mainstream. We don't have specific tribal colleges as you guys do here in the States, but basically within each of the tertiary institutions, the universities, they have units which have Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander staff employed to support Indigenous students, and basically they have a whole range of programs that students can apply for, such as medicine, dentistry, all the health professions, law, pretty much anything you want to apply for you can, and they'll assist you in any way they can to help you actually get into the program and also to help you complete your degree, which is excellent. So now we're seeing a lot more Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander people coming through, and they're actually completing their degrees. So we have a lot more doctors, and we have dentists and speech pathologists and lawyers and a whole range of professionals.
That's excellent. And do they go back into the communities to work with the people?
Generally, I think that you can say that they do. Obviously, I can't speak for everyone, but I know that with all the people that I know that I went to university with, they were there for the people, and they wanted to go back and contribute something positive so that you could have positive outcomes in your community and actually move forward. So, yeah, I think so.
So things are getting better for people there, you think?
Yeah, I think there's still a bit of a dynamic of the attraction of once qualifying, the attraction of working in large cities and that as opposed to going back. But I don't see that as a negative. I see that as a positive because there's a large percentage of our people that live in the urban centres. So we still need those professionals, whether it's in health, legal, whatever, working in the city as well, so that those people within an urban environment still have access to those kinds of people.
What kind of social issues are you dealing with?
In Rockhampton, I guess I can speak on Rockhampton, there's three key ones that we're trying, well, four I guess, because domestic violence is linked strongly with alcohol and abuse. The second one is what we call substance abuse, paint sniffers, and they're mainly in the youth category from about 10 years old up till about 18. And what we're finding in that particular area is that that's more of a youth issue, because once people go to 18 is the legal age to drink. Then they switch to alcohol, people switch to alcohol. The substance abuse, which is mainly petrol or paint, very cheap and very easy to get access. And it's not illegal for a child to walk down the street with a bottle of paint or petrol.
Wow.
So police are sort of struggling a little bit. This year they're moving to change the criminal code so that they can remove those youth to a safe place. They're not actually going to attract a criminal charge, or it's just that gives them the power to sort of take them to a place of safety. The other social issues are like mainly unemployment seems to be a real problem. But I also think that's linked to the mainstream unemployment as well. So, but what we tend to find, if you're Aboriginal or of dark skin, you tend to be put off first before anyone else is put off. So the Indigenous people, I guess, feel the brunt of any economic change when it's in a negative.
Do you find that you are dealing with a lot of sexually transmitted diseases too?
Yeah, that's the biggest fear I think at the moment is the impact of AIDS in the remote communities. There's a big issue about community education. Yeah. There's a big issue about publicly available or easy access to things like condoms and stuff like that. There's sort of big debates that are happening down there.
So those are also programs in the schools that people are talking about that?
Yeah, basically I think the responsibility for that sort of stuff lies with health, and they have health promotion officers, and they also have culturally appropriate material so that they distribute it out in the communities, and it's something that the kids can understand and relate to. And also they have I think they call them Aboriginal health workers, and they also go out and they're key in, I guess, promoting safe sex and, you know, going and getting tested for STIs and all that sort of stuff. So that, yeah, they're definitely some of the programs that we have.
Is it somewhat of a stigma for kids to go to the store and buy condoms? That was the kind of the thing that we're dealing with, you know, young people don't want to be seen purchasing condoms, you know.
A lot of store owners don't want to be seen selling the condoms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
There's a couple of interesting community programs that they try to run, which I think work pretty successful, and that was a culturally appropriate material. Have you ever heard of the Phantom here?
No.
He's a comic book character.
Yeah. Oh, that Phantom.
The Phantom. Yeah. I think they call him...
We have Condom Man.
They call him Condom Man. So he goes around saving the youth by distributing condoms. And
awesome.
Yeah. And the other one is Wonder Woman, is it? About...
and she's about, sexual health for females, for girls.
So, yeah.
We have snag bags here on I want to also ask you, before we run out of time, some of the political issues that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people are facing.
There's probably a range, but the most recent stuff is to do with the Mabo decision and native title.
Maybe you can describe what is the Mabo decision, because a lot of people here don't know what that means.
Okay. In 1990, the High Court of Australia, which I guess is it's our highest court, upheld Eddie Mabo's right as a native title or traditional owner in his land, Prior to that, there was a concept called terra nullius, and that was based on international law that when the Europeans colonised Africa, America, and down in New Zealand, Australia, they were done in two ways. One was either by conquest, and if it was done by conquest, there was an automatic recognition of the other side's rights. So there was recognition of them having rights in their country. The other one was country unoccupied, which was the terra nullius. And Australia, I think, was the only country declared by Cook as terra nullius. Basically what that meant is that there was no recognition in law through treaty or common law or legislation that we had rights or we were even Australians. So right up until 1990, there was no recognition at all. And it wasn't until 1967 that Aboriginal people were even recognised as Australian citizens. Prior to that date, you could not vote, you could not run a business, you could not own land. You were in effect the same as a tree, a plant or an animal. Wow. So the decision in 1990 was sort of a major decision in the history of Australian, particularly between the white government and the Indigenous people. It recognised our rights in land, and as such it has actually sort of really overturned the land law in our country, and that's sort of unsettled at the moment, and we're working through a whole range of issues there. But that's become a very political issue because there's a lot of vested interests, big mining companies, the government, because they now have to talk to Indigenous people where they previously didn't want to. And so while you're also working through your native title with the appropriate federal bodies, you're still also fighting these other battles in the media, people trying to vilify you. In the last 5 years, we've had an upsurge in like those, I don't know what you call them here. They're like white supremacist groups. We had only a year ago several attacks on a number of our Indigenous social organisations, and there was a coordinated campaign in the media, handouts and all that kind of stuff. So there's sort of some of the stuff, but I will say that there's also a lot of white people that also come in and have stood by us as well. So it's the other issue is about representation in government. So we don't have any we only have one Indigenous person in the Commonwealth Government. That's Aidan Ridgway, who's a senator. There is no other Indigenous person. So there's a whole issue about governance, representation of our people within parliaments.
We're going to take a little break right now, but when we come back, we want to talk some more about reconciliation and the political issues. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Hello, here's some more fruit and vegetable news that I know you're going to enjoy. Today's canning methods, I think, retain more nutrients than you would possibly expect. You still get cancer-fighting vitamins and antioxidants from canned fruits and vegetables, but sometimes I find that canned vegetables lose some of their colour, and that's why I love to freshen up their appearance. Just a little bit of creativity. Here's some examples. You take this canned asparagus and just add a few sliced mushrooms, a little red bell pepper perhaps, or even the bottled red pimento. Now, with other vegetables, you might like to try some sweet corn or fresh parsley, perhaps some chives and green onions. Do you know what it is? They add colour and they add flavour to your canned vegetables. It's really so easy to do. And the serving sizes, by the way, basically half a cup equals one serving, just like that. So, go ahead, do yourself a favour and enjoy your 5 or more servings of colourful fruit and vegetables every day. Nice.
Hi everybody and welcome back. We're talking today with Samarra Toby and Robert Toby from beautiful, warm, sunny Australia as we are dipped into minus 16 degrees Fahrenheit here in Montana. We were talking about some of the political issues that are affecting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people, but I want to go back a little bit and talk about reconciliation. We hear a lot about that in our newspapers, and we need that from your mouths too.
Yeah, reconciliation's been in place as a national initiative for about between 6 to 8 years, and it's sort of starting to evolve into other issues. But reconciliation is a positive attempt to try and bring a nation together, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and non-Indigenous people. And that's been done at several levels, at a national level with national committees. But it actually, I think it's more successful at the grassroots level, where there's been a lot of committees and activities set up so that these activities can involve all parts of the community. It's about developing friendships and partnerships, and also doing things that everybody can do and have a role and feel they've achieved something in that. I think it was last year, one of the issues that did sort of flow on from reconciliation was the issue of stolen generation. And many of the national Indigenous leaders had called on the current government, John Howard, to actually give a formal apology in Parliament. For example, in Queensland, that's our state, Premier Beattie, who's our Premier Beattie. Sorry, I lost that for a minute. I guess he's a bit like your governors, of state governors. But he actually made a formal apology in the Queensland Parliament. And so I think the federal government's out of step with some of the state governments. At a event on the national level, which was sort of coming together of a lot of the national leaders and people in regards to reconciliation, the Indigenous leaders called on the Premier, who was present at that particular event, to give a formal apology to the stolen generation. He refused to do that, and the response from the Indigenous leaders was to turn their back on him during his speech. In Indigenous cultures, it's a sign of disrespect when we turn our back on people. We dislike those people, we have no respect. So it was very powerful in the sense that this was on national television, and every Indigenous person, including all the leaders, turned their back on our Prime Minister.
That's excellent. I think it's excellent. You might want to explain what the stolen generation is, because our Indian people have gone through a similar kind of thing, but we don't call it the stolen generation. So if you could just explain that.
After a lot of the conflict with the coming of white people, we were put onto reserves or dogged communities, I guess the reservations similar here in the United States. But one of the things they used to do was take the children away from the parents and give them either to other families or put them into like camps where they tried to convert them into white Christians. They had to deny their heritage, they had to deny their language, had to deny their culture, and in a lot of cases had to deny their own parents. Now that was very damning in our community, and that's an intergenerational problem that we're still trying to deal with. People are very upset about that. We believe it's impacted on how we look at society today. That's why I think there's a lot of social problems, because that's never been resolved, and it's going to take a long time to resolve.
What are some of the positive things that have happened for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people?
Okay, I guess we're still here and surviving.
Yeah,
is one thing.
A move towards self-determination and community capacity and governance, and giving power back to our communities to actually make positive changes. That's probably broadly. It's
a bit of self-empowerment. It's also trying to change government's attitudes about how they deal with Indigenous. One initiative I thought had potential was the concept of 10-year partnership, which was about governments going out to communities, sitting on undertaking broad consultation, and then developing programs that met those needs identified in the consultation. Now, that's been in progress 2 or 3 years. Unfortunately, we've had another change of administration, and that's sort of starting to stumble a bit now, and I think that happens a lot. But in general terms, there's more educational opportunities, more Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are owning their own homes, we're getting more younger professionals out there, and I think politically we're moving to a point where we can start making a difference on the political level.
So there is a lot of hope out there.
I think there's
strength.
a lot of, I think one of the things which is a big point is, I guess, I don't know, we hear it a lot, but it might sound a bit corny, but there is strength in unity. And my own personal view is I think Indigenous people around the globe need to start working together, because a lot of the multinationals now, companies and even governments operate on a global basis. So I think we as Indigenous people need to start moving to those sort of responses, because obviously coming here I've seen a lot of the same issues.
Definitely.
And a lot of the same thinking on the other side about how people try to keep you down, they take away your culture, you know, there's a whole range of things. So I just feel there's real opportunity for us to start acting on a global basis.
Before we go, because we only have 2 more minutes, I do have to ask about Kathy Freeman, because we saw her win that race over there at the Olympics, and we feel that she's an ambassador for a lot of Indigenous people. And do you want to talk about her for a minute?
Yeah, well, I've had the opportunity to actually meet with Kathy and talk with her, and she's great. She's a really nice person. She's down to earth, but she's also aware of the issues that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander and probably other Indigenous people around the world face. And so I guess she's been a really big role model for me and for a lot of people, you know, from the younger generations, especially in sport and athletics, because she's shown them that it doesn't matter where you come from or what your background is or how much money you have, you can always succeed if you are committed to your goals. And it's a really great story that she has, if you ever have an opportunity to read her book, because it was a wonderful way of her, I guess, sort of telling the people of Australia but also the world about her journey. So yeah.
It was pretty exciting for us as Indian people to see her win those Olympic
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Well, you know what? We're out of time. We have so many more things to ask you, but they're going to have to wait for another day. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in today, and I want to thank you all for coming in and talking with us. I know it's really hard to leave that nice warm fire, so we really appreciate all of your help, and safe journey home.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you again the next time on Good Medicine.
Good Medicine is your program. We hope you watch this and subsequent programs to stay informed about your health care. And we'd like to hear from you about how we're doing. Please direct any comments or suggestions you have to us. You can reach us at